One. Hey guys, this is Darnamos with Darnamos Dominions. We're back in on turn 25. Once again, we're joined by the statist player, Grippa.
Yellow again.
We were able to pull in another person who was listening in on the last episode, Illidian. Hi, Illidian.
Hello.
And interesting, Illidian, I'm glad to be able to hear your voice. We're playing in a game together, and we've been able to do a little Diplo in that one.
Yeah, that's true. It's not going great for me, but looks like you're going pretty well so far in that one.
RCK is the Scalaria player. Say hi, RCK.
Hello.
And I didn't verify, Shippotle, are you in? I'm gonna take that as a no, so we will see if he gets in later. And in the meantime, we're gonna keep on going with the episode. So last time we didn't get to go too much into the fights, and we have a big Vanheim fight coming on. The first one is, Vanheim talking about the Hydra, which, led us to all sorts of rabbit trails. He said he's gonna leave it alone. Ashdod now has another prophet. Vanheim got hit by a PD dump and took a couple losses. And this is an Airmorian PD dump, and I'm curious as to how he's able to afford PD dumps, and we're going to go into that as soon as we get through this. Airmore is just doing moving his armies in, and then Scalaria is clearing more underwater. Vanheim does hits another PD dump that is successful. 7 scouts by Ashdod was unable to defeat a PD dump. And Marignan moves on to Pangea's fort and has started a war. Sadly, we don't have either player in here at the time. And Ulm has taken a throne, which we said was going to be an easier throne in a previous episode. Pangea has picked a bad time to hit 2 people, or to hit Airmore, and then a couple random events. So the first thing that I want to hit in on is the PD dump in this territory. Grippa, let's go into, let's hit you first, because I want to have a little bit of a surprise, about this. Grippa, why is a PD dump from Airmore so rare?
Oh, a question I can answer. Well then, Ermore likes cash because they don't get much cash at all. Because they have death scales, as well as their dominion naturally kills off populations, so money is very important for them. So for them to PD dump and spend a lot of gold on actually doing that means that they can't get a fort, they can't get a temple, they can't get a lab or something somewhere else. So typically not advisable to do a PD dump.
Illidan, or I'm sorry, not Illidan, RCK, how was he able to do PD dumps then?
Well, at that time, I believe that the Ormore player was deciding to get out of the war with Vanheim, and I asked him, I said, how much money would it take for you to continue the war? So for the next couple of turns, I think I started off with sending him 2,000, and then a couple of thousand every other turn after that on top of death gems, just to continue that war.
Oh my
So Vanheim wouldn't mess with me, and Ormore wouldn't mess with me after I decided to continue my plans of what I was planning on doing. And then as soon as I got close to Ormore, of course he wanted to nap 3 with me as soon as I got close to him. Because I mean, he didn't want the income to stop. And at this point in the game, I had temples labs, and castles in every province, and I was producing as much as I could out of every province, and I was still bringing up that much net income.
Now, Illidan, have you played in a game against Airmore at all?
I have not, unfortunately, but I'm a little bit experienced with the whole pop kill nation, so it's not completely foreign to me.
Would you give resources to a pop kill nation?
Never, ever. I don't think so. I think income is probably one of the hardest things that they might have to deal with. So starving them of that could keep them weak. But in this situation, it seems Ermor is quite large, so keeping them on the diplomatic side seems beneficial.
RCK, specifically, why would you give it to Aramor, who seems to be, is always a threat and normally gets a coalition against him? Why are you interested in doing that?
So everyone else would focus and notice at how big he is and leave me alone at the time.
Why would you want to do that? I mean, why would you want to stay small and quiet?
So I can build up and no one would mess with me.
Okay, how so? Go into the very specific details of Scalaria and why Scalaria this works as a strategy for Scalaria. Would Citis be able to do the same strategy?
No, only Scalaria would be able to do this strategy because a special unit that Scalaria has would be the Cultist, and they're able to reanimate things about 3.5 things or long dead a turn. So only being 45 gold, 1 research, and 1 recruitment point, you can pump out 2 of these per turn in every castle and 3 per citadel. So I mean that'll give you increments of almost about 7 long dead per or exponentially over every turn. So you can pretty much, if you have enough of them, make skeletons faster than people can kill them. And
Grippa, I'm sorry, keep going.
No, you can keep going. It's fine.
Grippa, why is Scalaria why are they able to build up so much faster than you? I mean, if you go over and you take over, let's say you go over and eat Ulm, are you ahead of Scalaria if they stay just in their little hole? Who would actually win that fight?
So I do have experience playing as Solarian in one game. So they have what's many people consider one of the most broken possible units in the game, which is a 1 commander point, basically a mage, not mage, a priest that reanimates. So they got a 1 CP animator with the Slayer and Cultist there.
Okay, let's hit on this real quick because RCK pointed out this unit, how it adds. Why is 1 recruitment point such a big deal?
Because they can build forts that can build 2 of them at a turn. So each one can reanimate. I believe it's 5 long dead a turn. About maybe is it 5 or 7?
It's
one of the
3.5. It's a 1d6.
Yeah,
3.5. 3.5.
Sometimes 4, sometimes 3.
Okay, so it's 3.5. So every turn you get 3.5, and they're also sacred, so they cost basically no upkeep because they're also sacred units have lower upkeep. So it's 18 gold a year. So that's divided by the 12. So you can have literally hundreds of these cultists reanimating every turn if you're allowed to just sit there and build them. So every Solaria wants to have a fort in almost every province with a temple, and that's all you need. You don't even need a lab for all these guys. So it's really frustrating to play against because they are almost like exponential growth. Like if you look at the score graphs for the number of units, they'll just start ramping up ridiculously.
Yep, so Airmore is still in the lead at this point. Will that stay the same? RCK, will Airmore be able to keep up with you?
No, not even close.
What's the difference? Why can Airmore not get more? What makes their mechanic different than yours?
Because since they destroy, or since they're a pop kill nation, the more pop you have, the faster you're going to get it. But once your pop's gone, I believe you still get long dead and stuff once your population's gone. I may be wrong, but I think I'm right about that. But you're not going to get nowhere near as fast of a rate as if I had 50, 60, 70 cultists in one castle.
So he gets his population from, where does he get his armies from?
Just from his population dying.
Okay, so just from his population, and you get them from unit.
Yep.
So his are like if he wants to grow his ability to get more units, he needs to get more territory where you can just sit there on the same territory and just build these commanders, correct?
Yep. I believe probably, I know it was within the first year, I think I completely stopped making units. The only thing I was making at this point were mages and priests.
Oh, jeez. Illidian, what have you played against that are your scariest nations to play against?
So I versed Lemuria in the late age, and they seem quite similar to the middle age Ermor. Yeah, they've been quite horrifying. There is something I would like to mention, though. It seems it's a slightly different, but Scalaria versus Ermor in the Middle Age seems to be a classic example of tall versus wide gameplay, where Scalaria just needs a few provinces, and can build up from those. But Ermor is forced to go extremely wide, grab as much land as possible. So I see you transferring gold to Ermor actually seems to be like a really intelligent play here, now that I'm thinking about it further.
Shippotle, how many have you ever fought against an airboat before? Did we get Shippotle back in?
No, sorry. Here I am. I was in a game with a Lemuria as LA Ulm, and that game is unfortunate because it was a new player game, because I still haven't actually won a game of Dominions yet, so I still qualify, thankfully. But one of the people in it was very much new, and he didn't understand what the terms of a NAP 3 were. And so he thought that an NAP 3 just meant 3 terms of peace rather than, the announcement. And so I had assumed he was moving his Doom stack. It was like 12 turns into the game, and I was being attacked from 2 directions, and I was handling it fine. And then his army rolled over and took my capital because he didn't, he just broke the nap. But in that game, I was pretty separate from Lemuria, and I was feeding them both death gems and gold because I was confident enough in LA Ulm's scaling ability that I could out Lemuria if I simply let him put up a bigger fight against everyone that was dogpiling him. So I did a similar bait and switch tactic, but I am fighting against the Scalaria right now, but it's in a community with the community balance mod, and it's a mess.
I'm sure it's better. RCK, with how many turns do you think it takes you to get to that critical mass if you're left alone?
Maybe about turn 30ish or so. With also giving Ermor that cash and stuff, if you notice, he still hasn't gone into the water yet.
You're correct.
And I think I leave the ones that's closest to his castle just in case if he decides to, but I don't believe anyone ever messed with the water the entire game other than me.
We did have some Ashtod. Ashtod actually came underwater for a little while here.
Oh, okay. And I think the entirety of the game only made 2 Mound Kings, and they were the only ones that went underwater.
Of note, Ashtod lost this territory right here, which was giving him 96 gold. I mean, it's over for Ashtod, of course, but kind of sad that his last stand got, jumped on.
By indies, of all things.
Let's go. What's it?
No, you can go.
No, I'm changing subject. So get our last note on this subject.
Another thing with Scalaria is they're a really good communion nation. And at this point in the game, I had lizard shamans and I had adepts of the something order from that throne right there. So it gave me fire, air. I had water from my capital for a communion, and I had nature and earth. But I never got an earth cross path.
Okay, so you've got just about every path available at this point.
Yeah.
Jeez. I want to go into the. What's that? Go ahead. Go.
Oh, well, I was going to say one thing about fighting Scalaria that I made the mistake of doing is you can't just prepare for undead because Scalaria can take advantage of that and then actually pump out real units. That's the difference between a Scalaria and an Amor, is that they do have access to cheap and effective real units in the Retarii. And the Scalaria that I fought, I was Phlegra, so I don't have a great lineup against them, but I wanted to try and rush them down. And I had a pretty solid army against them and quite a few priests, but they drained all of their income and massed like 300 Retarii, which chewed through my little peltasts. And then they were gone the battle after, but they could recuperate a lot faster because they had undead, and capturing slaves with phlegra causes a lot of unrest. So against Scaleria, you have to be prepared for two different kinds of war, whereas for Elmore, you can just kind of spam priests.
So let's move into the new fight that has just broken out between Marignan and Pan. Now, Grippa, do you know what caused this conflict?
No, I had no idea about it for a while, actually.
RCK, do you know what caused this conflict?
I saw what was happening. I saw that I saw Pangea was sieging, or at least trying to take the forts on the coast there. But other than that, I don't know what happened.
Okay, so Marignan and Pan are right here, and this territory is within their cap 2. And so they both wanted it. Pan got there first. I think that Marignan had cleared it of commanders with their assassins, and then Pan came in and took it. And so there was some bad blood between Mari and Pan because of it. The matchup between this is very, very interesting. And because Grippa and RCK, you know the ending of this. Illidan, who do you think is gonna win this matchup between Pan and Mari?
It looks extremely stacked for Mari at the moment.
Okay, I mean more in general when Pan's forces come on over.
I think Mari will probably have some difficulty with the seducers, or am I thinking of the wrong age here?
You are correct. Now, what is Marignan? How much do you know Marignan?
Not really, unfortunately.
Okay. What do you know about Pan then?
The seducers and the trampling minotaurs.
Okay. Which how do you feel about the trampling minotaurs? Let's go on that one.
Quite scary. I do like playing the human-sized nations, and these guys just chew through them, unfortunately. So they are pretty horrifying. I find myself recruiting heavy cab from indie provinces and things like that to attempt to deal with it.
Shippotle, how much do you know about MAE Marignan?
I've tried one game with them, and I've played EA Pan. If Marignan isn't careful, I feel like Pan can do a bunch of assassinations, which are just failed seductions, which, either one is very, very effective. And with all of Marignan's commanders being male, that could lead to a lot of messy battles. But otherwise, massed crossbows and effective sacreds, along with good, the paths that make crossbows good, which are fire and air, mean that Marignan is not a weak nation.
Let's go into that really quick. What do you mean by all of the commanders are male? What does that matter?
So there are 3 different types of seduction. There's the seduction that this dryad has. There's dream seduction, which is all around bad, and you should never try and recruit a unit that has it. And then there's corruption, which is the best version of it. And the seduction of a dryad can only affect commanders that are male. And if you take a look at units using the unit inspector, units either do not have a tag or they have the tag female. And so basically, dryads cannot affect any commanders with the tag female. And that means that any of Mary's mages or commanders can be seduced or assassinated effectively by the dryads of Pangea. Now, something that is kind of apocryphal, and like you'll hear about it maybe sometimes on the forums, that I can confirm, is that a dryad with a like the bear claw talisman can seduce female commanders. Similarly, a male commander with the cat's eye charm can also seduce male commanders. So a dryad with the bear claw talisman can seduce female commanders, and a male seducer with the cat's eye charm can seduce male commanders.
So that actually does work, correct?
Yeah, I've tested and confirmed it.
Okay, I didn't know about the bear claw, by the way. I knew about the cat's charm, but I thought the cat's charm was like a catch-all.
No, it's if you take a look at the bear claw talisman, which is I think construction 1 and like some nature gems.
I don't think we have the pass to look at it. I need to talk to. That's one thing I think that I would like to do is talk to the mod creator and see if we can somehow get a researcher in on that.
There's already, I think Aether Nomad is the creator of the Omniscience mod, and I think it's either Aether or Lucid who's behind the debug mod. So you could probably just have them slap in a debug sensei.
Yeah, that would actually be a good idea. Oh, but then we'd be able to get it on everybody.
No, you could just make it national.
That's a good idea. I will actually bring that up to him after this.
But I believe the bear claw says something about feeling more manly, and feeling more masculine. It's. I mean, I'll boot up a game and get back to you. But
no, what's that say?
Can I get one of those bear claw talismans?
Oh yeah, look, that's actually a good point. The troubadours themselves, these are male seducers, so these can only seduce commanders with the female tag.
Why is it that, I mean, if you had to pick one between the troubadour and the satyr, actually let's go to Illidan on this one. If you had to pick between this troubadour right here and then the satyr, which one would you pick and why?
Oh, it's hands down this one. Even though it's like more than twice the price, just the fact that you've got the nature level will make it far more consistent at the assassinations. Also, being female, way better than being male.
Okay, go into why would you say that, especially the female rather than the male?
So well, someone else mentioned in the mod inspector that certain creatures will have no tag or female, and I think just that is extremely telling. There must be significantly more male creatures than female creatures, and therefore commanders. So this would have far more options at seduction attempts, I think.
And what will we use the nature path for? What good is that?
Swarm, right?
Okay. Yeah,
think
you're 100%
Yeah.
right.
How high is that ore? 3. Wow.
Swarm is
Dang.
by far the only thing you care about for nature assassinations.
What is the awe tag? Let's go to actually who's the one who said wow? Sorry.
I think I mentioned. Yeah.
Okay, what
Just
is awe?
3 ore.
What does 3 awe mean?
So I think it's the morale check, right, on attack. So the creature that's attacking the unit with ore has to pass a morale check, or they won't even attempt to attack it.
Now, what's interesting is when I started the game, people were taking, and they might still be doing it. A lot of people are taking the awe roll because it's another set of defense. But it doesn't seem to be a very good. I mean, Grippa, would you put a bunch of gear on this guy and send him out?
Almost definitely not.
Why
Best
not?
you can do is a couple nature gems, because all you need is swarm for the seduction. Anything else that you risk is just possibility of losing in a. If swarm's not going to kill them, she's not going to walk up and punch them to death. So
Why not? She's got awe.
oh, she's got awe.
Yeah. Does that matter or does it not matter?
It helps, but I wouldn't trust it. She's got 11 hit points and 0 natural protection. So, and her skills are mediocre at best. So, anything that's not dying to swarm is probably not going to care about her awe.
RCK, let's go into you specifically in this war. I mean, you got a pretty clear path if this turns cold into going down and taking out Pan. Why would you not do that?
At this point in the game, I mean, I still didn't want to bother anybody. So if you notice those 2 independent provinces to the right of my nation, for a majority of the game, they stay independent. I think that Barbarian one stays independent for the entire game.
Okay.
I just didn't want to leave my area and bother anybody at the time.
Gotcha. Illidian, I just sent you a message. We're picking up a little background music on yours.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine, dude. So what? I'm sorry. Which ones were you talking? These two right here.
Yeah.
And
Now,
so, why did you not like vulture or take some of this territory?
I didn't really at the time. I was like, I didn't feel like I needed to go over there and deal with the whatever mess they had going on that to the right of me, because the whole time it seemed like everybody was at war over there.
But it's free land.
It still land beside somebody instead of being independent.
So you enjoyed the buffer more than you like the money or the gold. Were you spending all your money every turn?
Yes, I believe at this point I was making around 3K a turn.
You're making 3,000 a turn with this few provinces.
I believe so, because that throne gave me about 400 by itself.
I guess you're in third place. Let's see. Okay, let's see if we have another fight. Let's get one more fight in before the end. Actually, this is perfect. Okay, the one last thing I want to hit on this turn is the bless on Airmore, and I'd like you guys' opinion. We've gotten opinions from other players, but I'm kind of curious as to what your thoughts on it. Yeah, Shippotle, I can't bring up pictures, sadly enough. I wish I could, on the screen without.
Well, you could just read it.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Actually, why don't you read the bear claw for me real quick? Because it's really small on my screen.
Oh, okay. So the Bear Claw Talisman, which is Earth Nature, which is why I was having trouble finding it, says this Bear Claw is enchanted to strengthen the wearer. This is a very manly talisman, and it is said that a woman wearing it will grow a deeper voice and maybe even a beard.
And then what's the cat's charm say?
The wearer of this charm will have cat-like reflexes when threatened. These reflexes can make all of the difference when it comes to surviving a battle. It is also said that a woman wearing this amulet will become more beautiful, and a man wearing it will become more feminine.
Okay,
so there we go.
Moving back into the bless, when you saw this, Grippa, what do you think about this bless?
I've had the undead regen and the blood vengeance combination before, as well as the undying. The main things that are new with this one is the fortitude and the berserker part that I haven't seen before. Basically, they're going to make lictors even more horrifying, but it's not really going to make lictors not die to what they normally would, because with the undead regen and the blood vengeance, they're already pretty much, they can chew through almost an endless amount of chaff with those two. But I don't think the fortitude and the berserker are really necessary for that either.
I wonder if he should have just went for more HP instead of berserker too. I mean, I understand that he wanted to keep the lictors in the fight for longer, but is it really worth that many points?
I tend to agree with you personally. I don't see what Berserker 2 brings to the, other than if they berserk, then they're gonna stay on the field. And I know that he said that his biggest problem was that they would run away.
Can you check on some of Airmore's mages? Because there's one really important thing.
Okay, yeah, and if you can, go ahead and kiss your microphone so that we can actually, you're really low right now.
Yeah.
Okay, you said click on one of his mages?
Yes, so, not a regular priest, but I believe Airmore has some sacred mages. Although he might not be able to see it.
I gotta be honest with you. One of the biggest weaknesses that Novell has is that he is very addicted to his research, and he doesn't use any mages in the field until he gets to a critical point.
I do feel like I noticed the same thing, because I did have a handful of scouts watching some of these battles, and I saw very few mages at all in these battles.
And I try not to. I don't want to correct him, and I don't want to point it out to him. And I hope he's not watching the videos, because I get in games with him against Airmore, and I hope he never changes.
You better be careful though. That man is practicing Airmore and only Airmore, and he feels that he's discovered an even worse bless to deal with. but on Berserker, if you have sacred mages that aren't in a communion and they take damage, that the mage will go into a berserk frenzy.
Ooh,
And
I didn't even
so,
think about that. Oh my goodness.
didn't either.
so
I mean, that
Berserker,
goes with his H4.
yeah, no. So mages that are communion slaved, like if they are the slaves, I believe they won't break communion even if they go berserk. But if you have a holy communion master, and I don't know, he takes like just chip damage, like a stray arrow or iron blizzard. Yeah, there we go. So the prophet is the prophet just going to go and punch things? The prophet, because the prophet's auto blessed.
I mean, all you gotta do is do a single earthquake.
Yeah. So if the prophet takes damage instead of casting undead protection, yeah, you could really easily interrupt his script actually. And getting those battlefield buffs on your undead is very important. So a turn 1 earthquake that hits as long as it gets through the defense will send that prophet into a berserk rage, and it'll go and try and punch you to death.
We're gonna wrap up here, but I got one last question for Illidan. Illidan, we were talking about how he keeps his mages at home until he gets to a research. How much do you actually spend, or how much do you place on mages in the field early game?
I was just thinking about that comment and about how I should probably change my playstyle. So I also do the same thing where I just keep my mages at home until I feel like I've researched something useful, and then I tend to send them out in big clumps. But just a few key mages with some useful spells would probably be significantly more useful than sitting at home researching.
And of note, I would like to point out that Gazlov is not he is probably the most experienced player in this game, and if we look at his 2 fights this time, and of course it's Vanheim, but he's got a mage here, and he's got a mage here, and every single fight he's got a mage, and when he does end up having his big fights versus Ashdod, he has multiple mages, and they are casting spells. Grippa, I'm actually gonna do one more question with you, Grippa, because I actually know that I've seen you evolve as a player. How has your mage use increased as you become more knowledgeable?
I've definitely learned that not every mage needs to be sitting there in the laboratory, and that having a dedicated group of researchers and separating out ones that are effective in battle is important. So I've learned to basically have guys that I want to use for site searching go out. I want to have guys who, so I would put for example, this game I had the Marsh Masters. If any of them had one of the 3, shut up, phone. One of the 3 things, Death 3 or Nature 3 or whatever, I would have him go out and site search around in order to site search up to level 3 in that category. So otherwise, I would try to keep Marsh Master. I'll be honest, I was calling them marshmallows the entire game.
Keep going with it, dude.
I would keep a Marsh Master or 2 with every army if I could. That ended up actually coming back to bite me a little bit, but
no spoilers. No spoilers.
No, nothing important. But yeah, so it's important to know that mages are one of the reasons for the best buffs. I would be having my guys cast. I was looking to get wooden warriors on as many of my Falchineers as possible in order to really buff up their protection even more a bit, so they would survive because they don't have shields or hats or any of that stuff that is good for defense. So any natural protection there is really helpful. For example.
So the more mages that you have out, it's a sign of a more veteran player. In my opinion, the more mages that I see and the more magic that's being used, the better that I see a player is. And of note, when I see, and we talked about this in some of the earlier episodes, a sign of a new player is buying independent units, is seeing the heavy cavalry, the light infantry. Crossbows are an exception, but it's really interesting when you see players moving from chaff that you can get independently and sticking with their national troops, with mages. It makes a person realize that you are a better, more experienced player. So, we're gonna wrap up with that, and Grippa, again, thank you for joining us.
No problemo. Thank you for having me.
Illidian, it's awesome being able to go from doing diplomacy with you and having a common war enemy to having you in one of these videos. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
RCK, it's been wonderful watching you play. The Scaleria has been a wonderful one. I still cannot believe that you've only played 1 or 2 games as Scaleria. And just having you in here with your insight has been absolutely wonderful.
Well, thanks for having me.
Shippotle, thank you again for joining us. I appreciate you looking up for the stuff in the background. I need to somehow find a way to be able to have our private chat on the side so that I can get some of this stuff into the videos. But thanks for going through the hassle of getting into here and joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, guys, we're going to end with that. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I will catch you guys in the next one.